Hello, welcome back. Today we are going to have a discussion on IELTS writing task 1, letter writing for the general training version. Now this discussion is based on a letter which has appeared in the most recent IELTS exam held on 24th May 2025. Let's get started. So on screen you can see the question. Now you have the first line says the basic instruction regarding time management. It says that you should spend 20 minutes on this task, and you know that like the total time for the writing module is 1 hour, for which you have to spend at least 40 minutes for essay writing and 20 minutes for task 1, which is letter writing for GT and report writing for academic. Now I have mentioned in my earlier videos also that there is no specific restriction or demarcation between this task 1 and task 2 time limits, which means that the answer sheet will be collected back together at the end of 1 hour, but you have to see that you don't spend more than 20 minutes for task 1 if you're starting with task 1, because task 2 essay writing you have to write it in more number of words, so you need at least 40 minutes for task 2. Now let's get into this question. So first they have given a hint regarding time, then let's look at the other instructions as well. Write at least 150 words, which means that you can go over 150 also, you can go up to 200. Now I'm not just saying that it should be up to 200, you can go up to any limit, but you have to bear in mind the time restriction also. Then you do not need to write any addresses, which means that this being a letter, it's not necessary that you have to write any from address or to address in the letter, just the body would be enough. Then another thing given here is begin your letter as follows. Dear, they have given how to start off your letter, dear, and whatever you're planning to include as per your understanding of the task should come in that place. So they have also mentioned how you have to start the letter, dear, followed by something. Okay, these are the basic instructions. Now if you're somebody who is already on track preparing for IELTS, you would be knowing all this. But don't take it for granted. Nevertheless, you have to go by the instructions on the day of the exam as well. You have to definitely go through the instructions. So time we have understood, then the number of words we have understood, then we understood we need not include address, and we have understood how to start off the letter. Now let's get into the core. Okay. Now this part which is highlighted, this is actually helping us in developing the letter. Now the question prompt or the task prompt for letter, we can view it as consisting of two different parts. This part which we can call it as the context, and this part which will help us in actually developing the body of the letter. Okay. Now context is nothing but the scenario, or it acts as a skeleton. It will help you in building the skeleton for your letter. Now what are the details that you get from this context or scenario? Just read through it. Write a letter to the manager of an antique shop. So you understand who the reader is. By reading this first part, you understand who the reader or the recipient of your letter is. Here it is the manager of an antique shop. Now, why is it important to clearly understand who the recipient is? Because it is this reader or recipient that will decide the type of the letter that you have to craft. Now, you know that there are 3 types of letters generally: formal, informal, and semi-formal. Now, why do we need to differentiate between them? Is it necessary that we have to identify the type of the letter before we start writing? Yes, of course, because the kind of words, the tone and the style of each of the letter is different. When it's formal, you have to use in more of formal words. In informal, you'll have to use in more of informal vocabulary. So it varies. So to understand that how we have to deliver the letter, it's important that we identify the type of the letter. And how do we identify the type of the letter? By knowing who the reader is. So here we understand that we need to write letter to the manager of an antique shop. Now manager of an antique shop means it's sure that it's somebody whom we doesn't know. So when you're writing letter to somebody who is in a position, who holds a position, but we do not know them personally, then we understand that that type of letter is a going to be a formal letter. So this is going to be a formal letter because you are going to write to somebody who is in office. It can be a manager, it can be the chairman of a university. So whoever it is, who's holding a position, but we doesn't know that person personally, then it's going to be a formal letter. And informal letter is when we are writing to somebody we know personally. It can be a friend, a family member. And semi-formal letter is when we write to somebody who holds a position but we know them. It can be a class teacher, it can be a principal, and so on. Now here, since it is to a manager, we understood that it is going to be a formal letter. And what is next? Write a letter to the manager of an antique shop to sell an antique piece, which means that from the context you understood who the recipient is and you also understand the reason for writing the letter. Why are we writing this letter? These are the two aspects that we get from this contextual information. To whom are we writing the letter and what is the reason or purpose of writing the letter? So here we understand that we are writing to the manager of an antique shop because you need to sell an antique piece. Okay. Now we have got that context. So it is up to us, like if you want we can develop the entire letter using this thread. But they are actually helping us further with these 3 bullet points. Now this contextual information will just help you in getting the framework of your letter or the skeleton of your letter. But we need to fill in to the skeleton to develop into a complete letter. Now to help you on that, to developing the body of the letter, we can use or we should be using these 3 bullet points. So here it is given in the first bullet point. It says that in the letter you have to say how you know about this shop. So how you came to know about this antique shop should be included. And the second bullet point says that describe about the antique piece you have. So you should also describe about the antique piece which you are about to sell, which you want to sell to that antique shop. And then another aspect that you should be including is tell about your desirable price for it. How much price you are planning or how much worth you're going to assign to your product or to your antique piece. That also should be included in the letter. Now these can be called as cues or hints with which you can develop the letter. Okay. Now whatever is the letter type, you need to follow a certain structure. You have a structure for your GT letter. I hope the question is clear. What is the basic intention of the letter and what are the things that are to be included in the letter are clear, I hope. We have to write letter to the manager of an antique shop because you need to sell an antique piece that you have, and in the letter you need to include how did you come to know about this shop, and you have to describe your product, and then you have to include what is the desirable price that you look for this product. Okay. Now let's get into the format or the parts of the letter. Whatever letter type it is, whether it is informal, semi-formal or formal, all of these letters have this same structure. Now we have this formal letter. The first part of the letter should be salutation. Now salutation, they have already mentioned that you have to start your letter in this way. Dear. Dear, it's already given there. And now we don't know the recipient's name. So here generally when we don't know the recipient's name, we write dear sir and we put a comma, dear sir and comma. If at all the reader's or the recipient's name is mentioned, then we can mention that name here. Dear Mr. Suppose to the manager of the antique shop, Mr. Alex Johnson, then you can say that dear Mr. Johnson. Now here since the name is not mentioned, you can write dear sir. Now if you are assuming that your recipient is a female, you can also write it as dear madam. Don't write dear sir / madam, just write either dear sir or dear madam. That is salutation, the opening salutation. Then what is the next part? After the opening salutation, you would be leaving a line, and then you have the purpose of the letter or the greeting. Now purpose of the letter means it's an introduction to the letter. You are giving an overview of your letter to the recipient. What is this letter going to talk about? Here we know that we are writing this letter to the manager of an antique shop because we need to sell an antique piece. So how can we open this letter? Generally we can write something like I am writing to inquire. I'm writing to inquire whether you're interested in purchasing an antique piece that has been with my family for a long period. In any way you can start it. What generally you mean by this purpose of letter or greeting is that you're just setting the bridge to the body of the letter. Now suppose if it is for Like now, suppose if you are applying for a job, you can say that I'm writing this letter to apply for so and so post in your esteemed organization. So in the very first paragraph itself, you have to make it clear. It should be straight to the point. There is no place for small talks when it comes to formal letter. Get into the matter straight. Okay, so I'm writing to inquire. You can start off like that. Then body 1. Body 1, how do you write body 1? Just by expanding this bullet point 1. Okay, now what does bullet point 1 say? How you know about this shop. So you have to think of it. How can you deliver it? Maybe you can say that you came to know it through your friends, or maybe through newspaper, or maybe you can talk about some online media. It's up to you to decide. Now, whatever it is, you have to choose one idea which you are confident that you would be able to elaborate on. That's the only point that you have to keep in mind. Don't include too many points. Just choose one strong point and then expand on that. That would fetch you better scores. Now, first point is going to talk about how you came to know about this shop. So think about any one source. It can be friends or family, a newspaper or online media, whatever it is. You need to expand on that idea. Then body 2. Body 2 would be based on the bullet point 2. What does bullet point 2 say? Describe about the antique piece you have. So you have to think of an antique piece which you are confident that you would be able to develop ideas on. What are the possible antique pieces that you can think of? It can be a clock, or it can be a jewelry box, or it can be an oil lamp. Whatever it is, you should be able to talk about the design, the make, then what material is used, then how long it has been with you, any detailing, how the look can feel. You're basically describing or explaining about your product to the reader, to the recipient. That here it is the manager of that antique shop. Okay, so according to your convenience, according to your comfort, decide one product which you feel that you would be able to explain well. Then body 3, coming to body 3. Body 3 is nothing but the expansion of this third bullet point. What is it? Tell about your desirable price for it. Now you have to choose a price which you feel is worth for your product. Now suppose if I can choose 1 lakh, I can choose 50,000, any price. So decide on that. Maybe if I choose, okay, 50,000 rupees, 50,000 I choose for it. But one more thing, like you're talking to the manager of that antique shop and you cannot be very adamant. You cannot say that I want 50,000. You should also consider about being flexible. Try being polite and just accommodate that aspect of flexibility as well. That you'll include in body paragraph 3. Now, concluding remarks means you are just winding up your letter with a concluding paragraph. So how can you say that? You can, since this being a formal letter, you can say something like looking forward to a favorable reply, favorable response from your end, something of that sort. When it is an informal letter, how can we close? Hoping to see you soon, or like convey my regards to all in the family. In a very informal, in a very friendly way we close it. But when it's a formal letter, we cannot go for such options. We should be doing it in a formal way. You can say that looking forward to a favorable response from your end, looking forward to a favorable response from your end. That could be fine for this. Then closing salutation is where you write this, yours sincerely, yours faithfully, with love and all. But with love goes for informal letter. This being an informal letter, you can write yours faithfully. And then write your name. Okay, this is how you're going to develop your letter. I can show you a sample based on the idea that we have put in. Let's see a sample. This is the sample letter. Now this is the opening salutation. Dear Sir, I'm writing to inquire whether you would be interested in acquiring an antique item that has been in my family for generations, which I believe would make a distinguished addition to your esteemed shop. See, you have just made that. You have built the connection with the recipient. You say why you're writing, because I want to know whether you're interested in buying. I can say that I want to know whether you're interested in buying an antique piece from me, but that sounds informal, right? So see how it has been tailored into a formal tone. I'm writing to inquire whether you would be interested in acquiring an antique item that has been in my family for generation. You're just trying to convey the worth of that item in the initial paragraph itself, which I believe then you're you're sounding more convincing by adding on this, which I believe would be a distinguished addition to your esteemed shop. Okay, you're making the recipient also happy there. Then getting on to the first body paragraph, which is how you came to know about this shop. I recently came across an article in a local newspaper praising your remarkable collection and reputation for fair dealings. I was particularly impressed by the careful curation and expertise you applied to each piece. So that sounds convincing. Okay, so I hope this first paragraph is clear. You understood? You're conveying to the recipient that how you came to know about his shop and like how you were impressed by the collection in that shop. Okay, now then the next paragraph talks about what you have to describe your product so that the reader or the recipient finds it compelling to purchase your product. Now how you have described it. The item I wish to offer is a vintage wall clock. Okay, it's a vintage wall clock dating back to the early 19th century. You're making the value clear there. It is exquisitely crafted from pure teak wood, featuring intricate hand-carved designs and brass embellishments. The clock remains in excellent working condition and retains both its original key and pendulum. It has been carefully preserved by my family over the years. See how beautifully you can describe it using words like vintage, okay, and like it's from the early 19th century. So how valuable it is, then the material with which it is made, pure teak wood, then the designing, it has got intricate hand-carved designs and brass embellishment, so that the reader can get, can imagine the appearance, how it would look like. Then the clock remains in excellent working condition. You're telling that still working, and you're telling the details like it has its original key plus the pendulum. And then it's been maintained or preserved in a family for over these years. You have done that part. You have described your product. Then you are going to talk about the price. The third paragraph needs to talk about the price, the desirable price. Now, considering its historical significance and excellent state of preservation, I'm hoping to sell it for approximately rupees 50,000. So you're not directly saying that I want 50,000 for this product. Again, you are trying to convince the reader how, considering its historical significance and the excellent state of preservation, you're telling the recipient that you can take into account these factors like how its historical significance and how well it has been maintained. I'm hoping to sell. Here also you're not saying that I want. No, you're hoping to sell, or you are looking forward to a price of 50,000, approximately 50,000. However, you're still being flexible there. However, I'm open to negotiation and would welcome the opportunity to discuss this further. See how politely you have put it. Now that the third paragraph is over, then this is the closing salutation. Thanks for your time and consideration. I look forward to your response and hope to hear from you at your earliest convenience. In a formal way, you have closed the letter. Then this is the closing remark. Yours faithfully, Roshni. Okay, this is how you have to develop the letter. First, you have to plan. Already the bullet points are given there. Now, don't immediately start your writing. Just think or collect points, just like how we have done here. Based on each bullet point, think of an idea which you would be able to confidently build on or stretch out from that one single point. So, in that way, you brainstorm and collect the ideas, and then you start your writing. Now, here I've just, you can see the assessment criteria here. Now, when it comes to task achievement sees that how well you have achieved the task. So here, what the task is looking for, how well you have developed the letter. The letter from the introduction paragraph itself, it is clear that you're making it clear what is the reason for writing the letter, and you've covered all the bullet points, you've expanded all the bullet points, you have concluded the letter properly, which means that the task achievement is perfect here. Then talking about coherence and cohesion. Coherence and cohesion is nothing but the logical sequencing of your ideas. How you have done the paragraphing. Yes, as per the bullet points, you have elaborated the 3 body paragraphs. Apart from that, there is an introduction, there is a conclusion. So the coherence is fine. And whether you have used any connectors or linking phrases, of course you have used it has been used in this sample. For instance, you can see here in the first purpose paragraph itself, introduction, I'm writing to inquire whether you would be interested in acquiring an antique item that has been in my family for generation, which I believe would make a distinguished addition to your esteemed shop. So using that which, you have actually connected the idea. You are making the reason why it would be good if the recipient purchase your item, purchase your antique piece. So using this which, it's a good linking phrase. Then you have, see again here in this paragraph, considering its historical significance and excellent state of preservation, I'm hoping to sell it for approximately 50,000. So you're telling why you want to, or why you look forward to selling it for rupees 50,000, considering its historical significance and the excellent state of preservation. So that is again a linking phrase, considering. Then again, however, you're going to show, or you have shown a contrast of idea there. Even though you're looking forward to selling it at 50,000, however, you're open to negotiation. So that again is a linking phrase. So all this will come under coherence and cohesion. So task achievement has been done. Coherence and cohesion is there. Lexical resource, of course, the kind of vocabulary that you have used in the letter related to the topic, especially in this paragraph where you describe about the product. Words like vintage, then like this hand-carved design, brass embellishments. Then in this first paragraph also, like I was particularly impressed by the careful curation. So all these are words related to this topic of antique product. So that will add on scores for your lexical resource. Then of course grammatical range and accuracy, you have used a range of complex compound sentences have been used in this letter. So altogether I would say that this is a good sample which can fetch up to band 7.5 to 8. I hope you found this discussion helpful. Now we would be constantly updating you with the most recent replicated question papers of your IELTS writing. So stay tuned for more such videos. Thank you.
MedCity International Academy. Trusted hands forever.